Hey guys, my name is Anthony and in today's video I'm going to be talking over another esports qualifying event attempt, and this time it's not myself, so you don't have to worry, it's not some horrible attempt. This is actually from one of my teammates, Shazoo Aero, and he did this qualifying attempt, and at the time it was the #1 score on the PlayStation side of the event, and it has since been beaten. However, I thought I'd take this footage and really show you what it takes in order to qualify for F1 Esports. So if you're maybe new to the game, you can see for yourself exactly how much dedication to the game it takes and what sort of skills you need to be looking at in order to really qualify for F1 Esports. And if you're a person who, you're trying to qualify for F1 Esports, you have some experience under your belt, then you can also see exactly what is needed to really push to that next level and get yourself involved in the esports pro draft series that they usually have right as the game comes out. So as you can see, the first lap was a 34.0. Me personally, when I did it, I did a 34.6. So by the time we got to the end of the first lap, we were already 6/10 down, and you can see he's just really confident, just throwing the car into the corners. Yeah, the setup, he clearly has a lot of confidence in the setup and the way that the car feels. You really need to basically do 6 hot laps when it comes to these esports events, because you need to catch up to Carlos Sainz, who is in 7th. You need to not get any penalties, you need to use no assist, you need to use the fastest AI, all of this stuff, because if you're not using all of that stuff, if you're not doing that, you will lose points. If you corner cut, you will lose points. If you use flashbacks, you will lose points. So it really rewards those who are quick and consistent even without any assists. As you guys can see, we're coming up to the final sector of lap 51, and he's already within the DRS essentially of Carlos Sainz. When I did this on 110%, I didn't catch up to Carlos Sainz until lap 53, and I didn't overtake him until lap 54. And I think one of those reasons is because I wasn't using as much ERS. As you can see, we're only coming up to the end of the second lap, and Aero's already used practically all the ERS that was available to him. I think I still had about 40% ERS by this point, so clearly I wasn't using a lot of the ERS. That's probably a big factor into really catching up to Carlos Sainz as soon as possible. His previous lap that he just done there was a 32.6, so you're definitely gonna want to be doing high 32s, maybe a bit consistently, if you really want to be in contention for a very decent score, a very good score like the one that Aero's done here. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think it's either the top 10 or the top 8 from each platform that actually make it into the next round of the esports qualifying, so not 100% sure there. But as you can see, he's already pulled out a 1.5 second gap to Carlos Sainz, and the main goal for those who are really looking to get into F1 Esports, it's not to pass Carlos Sainz, it's actually to pass Daniel Ricciardo, because most of the quick guys are going to be passing Daniel Ricciardo. So if you really want the chance of getting a good score, you're going to have to be quick and consistent enough to overtake him, which is very difficult to do on 110% AI. In the first event at Monza, I managed to do that event. I didn't overtake Charles Leclerc, which is the person the next person that you had to sort of overtake if you wanted a good score. I didn't overtake him, but I still managed to do it on 110% AI, whereas this one, I struggled to do it on 110% AI. I actually had to turn it down to 107% AI, so it's no easy feat to really be able to do this on 110% and still catch up and overtake Daniel Ricciardo. So as we move on now to lap 54, I'm not going to show you guys literally every single lap because I've already done that in the attempt that I did. So we're mainly going to talk about the more important parts here. As you can see, by lap 54 now, he's in the DRS of Daniel Ricciardo. As I mentioned previously, by lap 54, I was only just overtaking Carlos Sainz, and he catches up Daniel Ricciardo in a pretty bad spot. You don't really want to be catching up Daniel Ricciardo going into Sector 3. He gets lucky and makes the dive bomb on Daniel Ricciardo, so he's got the rest of Sector 3 to really continue making up time. I assume that the person who ended up beating him maybe caught Daniel Ricciardo during the back straight, so he didn't lose as much time going into Sector 3. So that's probably one of the main reasons why high. As you can see, he's still not corner cutting, but he's right on the limit of the track. As you can see, you know, basically as soon as he gets to the white line, that's when he's able to keep the car stable, and he doesn't go over the white line, which will cause a track limits warning. As you can see, he's using so much of the track. It's actually insane to see how much of the track that he's using. A lot more than what I use, to be honest. I'm not the greatest player when it comes to the Circuit of Americas or when it comes to the game in general, but it's just insane how much confidence he has to really use basically 100% of the track given to him. And he's already gotten out the DRS with Daniel Ricciardo. He's already 2 seconds ahead, and at this point all you really need to do is just bring the car home as quickly as you can. I believe that the overall times that you really need to be setting if you want to get in within the top 10, top 20, I believe it's still the same as when I did my attempt, which is around the 89-minute 50 mark. So those are sort of the times that you want to be looking at. I think I'll have to check that whilst I'm editing this video. So as we come up to the final lap now that he does in this attempt, I wanted to give a little overview and just see what he does differently to what I was doing and maybe what you guys are doing. So he's still using all of the ERS to overtake, even though he's only got 1% left, and he brakes in 7th gear down into 2nd gear for this corner, which is pretty interesting considering I used first. So maybe he has a little bit more front wing than I do, so he's able to really throw the car in, carry a little bit more speed going into this first sector here. I'm not sure what these corners are, but as you can see, using 7th and then using 6th and then one last downshift to 5th, and then this corner, which I find really difficult, he uses 4th for that one. And for the first sector he was using 1 gear higher than me, so I'm assuming that allowed him to carry a little bit more speed going into these corners. And as you can see, once again for this hairpin, using 2nd gear instead of 1st gear, which was what I was using and maybe what some of you guys are using. So maybe you want to change the wing setup a little bit so that you can really carry a little bit more speed going through those slower corners. And then moving on to the end of sector 2 now, brakes just after the 100 meter board. He does lock up, but it really doesn't lose him a lot of time. He still makes the corner and he's still able to carry the right amount of speed going through those corners. And it's, as you can see, he's just got so much confidence in himself in the car. That corner, I find it really difficult to put traction down, but he didn't find any difficulties at all. And then he takes a really nice line through those sequences of right-handers, and that corner is so difficult because it's blind. It's so easy to cut that corner as well. And then he breaks out the black box, cuts that corner nicely, not getting any track limit warnings, and that is his attempt. And honestly, that was a very amazing attempt. It was really good to sit down and watch that and see maybe places where I can improve, let alone where some of you guys who are actually maybe looking to qualify for F1 Esports can improve as well, because esports is not something for me. I just don't have the time and the dedication. As you can see, Aero had a lot of time and a lot of dedication towards it to be able to pull out an attempt like this, and I hope that he does end up qualifying and moving on to the next round, moving on to the pro draft, because he's a very quick driver and he definitely deserves it. So I'm going to finish the video off there. If you enjoyed watching Aero's point of view and what it takes to really get a #1 score on the leaderboards, then make sure to hit the like button and stick around by subscribing to the channel if you're new and you want to see more content similar to this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.